Hey guys and gals, welcome back to Let's Be True. And I'm so excited for you to be with us today on this journey. So, I want to start out with a quick quote from C.S. Lewis. It says, I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. Well, this is Let's Be True with Vonnie Frady, and we are aligning our lives with the transformational truth of the Bible, one passage at a time, because real transformation starts with real biblical truth. And I'm your host, Vonnie Frady. So I want to just take a time. We're going to be starting in Genesis chapter 1. So if you have your Bibles, you can follow along. We were just going to be reading right here. We're going to read verses 1 through verses 13 right here. And we're just going to take our time and break this down and just see how far we can get with this right here. We might be able to go further, but I just want to see if we could take our time to break this down. And it says this in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was a formless and desolate emptiness, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, Let there be light. And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning one day. Then God said, Let there be an expanse in the middle of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. God made the expanse and separated the waters that were below in the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. Then God said, Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees on the earth, bearing fruit according to their kind, with seed in them. And it was so. The earth produced vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their kind, and trees bearing fruit with seed in them, according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can dive into this section to try to figure out how can we order our lives in such a fashion that we can resemble what's in the Bible and have the proper aim for our lives. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we have the Bible in order to be able to grow personally. So I want to be able to figure out what I can take from this to apply to my life to make my life shaped to look more like what Jesus looks like. And Jesus is the Word, you know? So I want my life to reflect what is in here. And how better to start this with how God set everything up at the beginning. So, what can we learn from this? Well, the first thing that we have here is in the beginning, God. It is the first four words of the Bible. In the beginning, God. So we see right here, just with those words, is God wasn't created. He is the uncreated one, is what we refer to him sometimes. He's above all things, he's before all things, and in the beginning, God means, guess what? Who created time, space, right? In reality, that was God. God was the one that did it, and God is outside of time, space, and reality in order to be able to create it. And that's not even something that we can fathom. All we can fathom is the time, space, and reality in which we currently reside and live in. And we that's all we have in front of us. It's what we are visually able to observe and see. And we base our whole lives sometimes off of something that we can see rather than on something that we can't see. So we have our focus on the things that are right here and right now, something that is in a temporary realm that was established at a certain date. And it will also have a specific date that will end. And we have everything we've ever known is located within this time except for the Lord. And we're going to get into what that looks like and how there's order and he created here. So he's before all things, he's above all things, and he was not created. He is the uncreated one. And that really helps establish even our worldview. So many times in our modern day culture, we start with one thing and one thing alone, and that is ourselves. C.S. Lewis also says this. He said, pride is the root of all sin. It's like the thing that was laying at the bottom of it. So if sin was a tower and you built up every single sin that you can think of, the thing that's at the base that it all points back down to is pride. It's me. It's about what I want. It's about me, pointing at myself and being selfish and all those things. So pride's at the very, very bottom of it. It's my way or the highway, Jack. That's how we like to view our lives. So when we are have our own understanding and worldview, many times that's shaped through how I can get ahead. It's shaped because of how can I get ahead and what's in it for me. And that's what our culture likes to do. That's what almost what every single culture since after Genesis right here has always done. That's the issue that we face in Genesis is the one of pride in Genesis chapter 3. But God was there at the beginning. He's before all things and he's above all things. But guess what? He's also going to be here after through all eternity. He will always be. So we need to be careful when we are starting to interpret things based off of purely what we see within time, space, and reality. And we got to start living for, as Christians, a reality that's above that. We can order our whole lives in such a way that God established and be able to meant us to live it, and our whole lives will change. And of course, we're born into sin. We are post Genesis chapter 3, where we see the fall of Adam and Eve and how sin entered the world, a disease that's terrible and it haunts every single person until Jesus finally comes back again. That we're stuck dealing with sin. We need to stop living for a world that's full of sin and start living for a reality that God exists in and invites us to partake in. Because heaven can come down to earth right now. He's talking to you right now. Are you able to see through just what is right in front of you into the deeper things that God is trying to reveal to you? Are you able to look into what's happening in the spiritual realm, what's happening in the spiritual? Because you're a physical and you are also a spiritual being. You focus a lot more on the word physical being, yes, but we also have spirit. We are spiritual beings. So we need to make sure when we are having our mindsets is realize God's before all things and he's above all things. And the spiritual realm was here way before he created the physical one. So we need to make sure that we are attuned spiritually into understanding that God is before all things and he is above all things and all things exist because of him. And we see right here is God is taking these things, as we see in these first 3 days, of things that we see the earth here was formless and desolate. It's desolate emptiness. And another word for this formless and desolate is a waste. It's a big place of chaotic whatever is all around. It's a big mess of despair. And God takes what is viewed as chaos and he brings order to it. So God's not intimidated by chaos. He is not frightened or shies away from it. He when he sees chaos, what does he see? He doesn't see despair. He doesn't see being able to be stressed out. What he does is he sees what can be. Hey, there's order that can be brought into this. There's something good that can come from us from this. From our perspective right here, a desolate wasteland does not look like anything that could amount to the foundations of the only planet on Earth that we know that's able to sustain life on the level that we sustain it. Like it's completely insane. So we see this right here. Earth was formless and void. And darkness was there, and the spirit was hovering. The spirit was grown. Another word for hovering right there is like it's like a brooding. It's a groaning. And the same word here is talking about how a mother is after their child. You know, like they have a child and they're sitting there and they're brooding and they're groaning over. They're looking. It's a place of I want to bring order to this thing. There's something that needs to be done. There's something that I can do in this place. So the brooding and the groaning there is the thing that takes place right before order comes into place? And are there areas in our lives where we feel that in our spirit that there's a brooding, a grieving of there is something the matter? And I think that happens to each and every one of us in all of our lives is we get emotions of there's something not right here. Our bodies or our minds are very, very good and let us know when there is something not that good. But we are especially experts of ignoring that altogether or trying to repress that or get that down. But as soon as there's something that's in us that's like something is not right here, that acts as a warning. That's maybe the spirit within us saying, listen, there's something that is chaotic going on in our life. There's something that's desolate, empty, and there's a void. And what we need to do is find a way to partner with the spirit to bring order in that. So the fact that there is things that comes up to our lives and there's a groaning and a brooding and a hovering period of it is that is good, because that means there is something that can be amazing. There is something that can be done about it that's going to completely blow you away. Just because there's a chaotic, desolate wastelands in areas of your life does not mean that nothing can ever grow there ever again. God is looking to bring order from it. He's looking to bring something out of it, make something out of nothing, and he's going to do what only he can do. But are we so attuned physically that we're not able to see what he can do spiritually into the physicalness of it? Because he's above all things, before all things, he is the creator of heaven and earth. He is able to do these things. Are we able to partner with the spirit and recognize those things and let him do what only he can do? The amen of let it be in me, let this take place, let this transpire. So God saw all of these things, and when he brought the order out of the chaos, he looked at it and he saw that it was good. He saw that it was good. And when he does those things, when he sees that chaos, he doesn't panic. How many of us panic when we see a little bit of chaos happening in our lives? How many of us panic when we see a little bit of disorder? How many of us panic whenever we hear the first bad thing on the news? We think everything's going to end, that society itself is going to collapse, that the US government is out to get us, or whatever it might be. We like to panic. And yes, there's going to be chaos in every single one of these things, and nothing in this world is going to be perfect. But there is something that can be brought to order in it. And the fact that you are seeing the chaos on it is not an excuse for you to look at it and just complain about it. No, the fact that you see that there's chaos happening, most of the time you're not there to just comment on, be a commenter on it. It's for you to go do something about it and bring order to it. And if you don't have the ability to bring order to it, then I'm going to ask the question, were you actually assigned to God to do it, or you just listen to what somebody else is observing and not being obedient in that? Listen, we got to be obedient, guys. We have to be obedient. So God has, it says right here in this other areas we see, and every single time in this forming, and we're going to see it as we move on here, it says, then God said. So God, he speaks several times in this area, and I completely have marked up my Bible. I don't think you can see this on here, but I highlighted all the times that there's repetitiveness happening in Genesis chapter 1 right here, as we see, then God said, let there be light. Then God said, let there be an expanse. Then God said, let the waters below in the heavens. Then God said, let the earth sprout. And then God said, let their lights be set in the expanse of the heavens. And God says, he speaks and he says certain things, and he says very, very little to what actually transpires. He said, let there be light. And guess what? There was light, and it just happened the way that it had to happen. God didn't have to go into meticulous details about it. He said it, and guess what? It happened the best way possible. It happened because he has authority, what it says. So we notice that God says it, and it happens, which means he has what? Authority over it. Because he could have just said it, and nothing happened, and that would have showed a lack of authority on his part. God has authority over everything. He has authority over time, space, and reality. Every single one have to bow to him. We see in Genesis several times that he has authority over time. When Joshua was in the battle and he asked for the sun to stay in the middle of the day so they can continue and win this battle, and guess what? The sun stopped in the middle of the day. God has control and authority over time. He has authority over space. As we see, he throws the stars into place. That's an afterthought. We're going to see that a little bit, but I'll talk about it at a later time. But he has control over reality because when he says something, it is created. So the reality is literally formed by him because he has authority over it. And his created order of what is time, space, and reality, that is truth. It is substance. It's something that is, and it's not nothing that we can just it's nothing that we can just make up in ourselves. And I know there's people nowadays saying, like, listen, we're basically living in a matrix, that nothing actually matters, that there's no physicalness to everything. Everything's just a simulation, and you've been lied to, and everything's a conspiracy theory, and yada, 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 yada. All time, space, and reality compared to where God exists out of it, it's. A.W. Tozer says that basically we are living in a simulation of sense. We are living into a reality that is only dependent upon God having created it. So God created reality. So we are living in a place simulation that God has created. But we are able to, as Christians, be responsible in ordering things and being a part of that reality because God created it and he's the one that holds it together, which means he has the authority and the understanding and the truth that aligns with everything. So if you want to know what is true, how can you live a life that's true? All you have to do is live your life according to what God has done in the spirit, and it will be made known and manifest in the physical world. So we have to quite literally align our hearts and everything with God because he's created reality, and reality is dependent upon him. And if we can just align ourselves with God, we're aligning ourselves with reality. And there's so many things in this book right here that help us in reality because if he created it and he tells you how to live your life, which is basically copying and pasting what Jesus did in his life, your life is going to align with reality so much better. So that's a lot. I'm sorry. I wasn't planning on speaking on half of this stuff, but we're going to go ahead and continue to go into this a little bit more. But separation creates purpose. We see right here that God does several different things when he separates. And God saw the light and it was good, and God separated the light from the dark. He separated the light from the dark in order for each of those to serve a particular purpose. When God separates things, it's not because something's bad from the other necessarily. God separates things and separates us from stuff sometimes in order for us to be able to for us to be able to have purpose in what we're doing. So God separates the light from the dark. He separates waters from waters. He separates the sea from the land. He separates so many different things in this area. And that's very a fascinating idea and principle right here. So healthy things require direction, and it requires a boundary, and it requires separation from things. You can't just confuse your life with somebody else's. You can't just live life like anybody else's unless that's Jesus's. That's probably the best way to go about doing it. But this connects to several things, right? There's certain habits that we have to separate ourselves from. There's certain relationships, priorities. Holiness is about being separate. You got to be separate from the world. There's separation, and the reason you're separate from the world is not a bad thing. The reason you're separated from the Lord is in order to give you the purpose that you are truly called to walk in. That's the whole reason why you were separated from them. And God is continually separating things from good from evil, from light from dark, from even just person to person. Just because something is separating from the other isn't necessarily because it's good and evil, but because it needs to serve its own purpose in its own time. So there's going to be times in your life where you need to separate away from stuff that is evil. Like as Christians, you're called to separate yourself as farly as you can from sin. But there are also times where you need to separate yourself from something that God's told you to separate yourself from. I don't care what that is. Maybe it's even just a TV show you're watching. You're like, man, I just know I'm not supposed to watch this right now. What was it inherently bad? Do they cuss? Is bad stuff in it? Like, no, I just feel like I can't watch it. I don't know why that is. I'm just not going to do it. Okay. There's been several times where I've done that in TV shows. Several times I've done that with even books that I've been reading. I need to stop reading this right now. I don't know why. I just feel like they're separated. There's separation that needs to happen right there in order to bring purpose in this one area in my life. And I can't see that all the time. I can't psychoanalyze God with that, but I know something good is going to happen with it. So he separates light from dark and all these different things. And we need to be sure with our habits that what we're doing is there's certain bad habits that we don't need to do, and there's certain good habits that we need to be able to establish. um, we see throughout the Bible there's good habits that you need to have. I mean, reading your Bible is an excellent habit that we need to do. A very, very bad habit to be able to do is wake up and just quote all the things that you're ungrateful for in this world. Like, that's something terrible to do. It's going to mess up your entire day. You're just ungrateful for everything. Like, God gave you the very breath in your lungs, the thing that you woke up with this morning. Maybe it's something that we need to do in the day to show a little bit of gratitude for all the things that we have, the good and the bad. I'm thankful for the bad things in my life because it helps shape me, and it helps me realize how much I need Jesus and how much better my life is with Jesus, even when those bad things happen to me. I mean, that's with relationships, right? I thank God that He brought Sarah into my life at a time where it shouldn't have happened, right? I grew up in Georgia. She grew up in Maryland. We happened to be in Tennessee for the same year, in the same city, in the same school, in the same choir, and it just happened to happen that way. And I'm so glad that God separated us from anybody else from that school so that we can become one flesh and go and be separated from my parents' house and her parents' house to be able to form our own family and own house. It's not because of anything bad. It's because there has to be purpose in that. So it looks like in your relationship. It can even look like your friends, right? There are people at your school, there or people at your work, wherever that might be. There are certain things we need to be separate from, and there's certain things that we need to be separated as a group from. As Christians, we're supposed to be separate as a group from the rest of reality, as the church, whatever that is. And even our priorities, right? So, our priorities, what are the things that we need to be separated from in our priorities? Man, I tell you what, there is so many things that we prioritize in our life that's not going to matter in 5 years. It's not going to matter in 2 years. It's not going to matter in 3 hours. But we say we got to have this and we got to do it. And we lack the thing that's actually there to prepare us spiritually for the eternal, for the thing that's going to last for eternity. And we neglect that. Oh, well, I go to church and I do this and this and this, but we lose the urgency of what is happening here. Like, life is fleeing. It is there and it is over before you know it. Like, I'm look around and it blows me away that 2016 was 10 years ago. I cannot believe that. I don't even know how to process that. That's the first time a decade has felt that short of a time in my entire life. And as you get older, guess what? That decade's going to fall shorter, shorter, shorter. And it's going to be over before you know it. I don't want to look back on my life and just be able to check off a bunch of stuff that I did, whether it be travel, whether it be any sports or anything that I did there. I don't want to look back and have that, because the only thing that's meaningful in my life is how people's other lives were transformed and that their eternity was secure forever. We got to change our perspective on stuff, guys. We got to change it. Holiness as general, as a whole, is to be set apart. We got to be holy because He is holy. And that's so so important. We can't look like the world. We want to look like Jesus, because when we look like Jesus in the world, guess what? You align with reality so much better. And when we're living life according to what God has called us to live life, everything changes. It just does. And you don't completely fully understand it until you're on the other side of it. I have the hardest time explaining just the peace and the joy and the happiness that I feel and the love that I feel because I'm a Christian. I view everything differently. I view everything through a lens of how grateful I am. And there's times where, I don't, and I forget, and the enemy tries to lie to me. Like, did God really say this? Did God really do all these things? It's, yes, He did. I have to remember it every single day. And the way that I feel, the way that I live my life is so much better with Christ. We got to be separate with discipline. There's certain things that we need to do, and there's certain things that we don't need to do. So what are those things in our lives that we can order that way? What are the things we need to separate from, as in, it's not like I need to discipline myself into eating more ice cream sandwiches. It's like, no, I need to discipline myself from drinking less sodas. Maybe. Not sponsored yet, but yeah, hey, Dr. Pepper, we can talk. I need to separate myself from some bad habits and to disciplining myself to not do certain things. I need to discipline myself. I need to go to the gym. I need to wake up tomorrow and go to the gym. I need to do that because I need to develop disciplines that are good for myself and take away the ones that are not. Separation is there to create purpose, and purpose of me going to the gym is in order to be healthy so I can live a longer life. And yet, how many of us actually go and do that? I mean, not me this week, not me this month. I need to be able to go and do that. It's hard truth, but guess what? Hey, it's truth. So maybe the reason your life feels chaotic is not because God abandoned you. It's maybe not the case. Maybe it's just we haven't allowed his truth to be able to bring order in our life in the first place. Maybe the Spirit's in us telling us that something doesn't matter, and we just feel like that God's abandoned us. But the very fact that we're able to feel that way is because the Spirit is letting us know that something's the matter. So we need to not just be like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. And I've physically have seen every single thing that can't happen there. And what we need to do is we need to sit there and be like, okay, God, thank you for giving me that discernment, that the spiritual lens to feel this and know that this is something that I need to bring order to. And it might be scary. It might be the hardest thing that you've ever done in your entire life. It might be the Goliath of your lifetime. You might be scary. You might be looking at, I don't want to face that. You might be cowering this entire time like the children of Israel were in that time. But we need to pray to have the boldness of a small little shepherd boy, where we can pick up rocks from the creek there in the middle of the valley, and say, I'm going to go and face this Goliath because nothing can compare to the greatness of my God, because he is in charge of time, space, and reality, and nothing within that time, space, and reality can stand up to how great my God is. We need to let his truth bring order into our lives. So let me ask you this as we're closing. This is it. What in your life still needs to be surrendered to God's order? What in your life needs to be still surrendered to God's order? What is the thing that is brooding in our lives that's helping us point out that we got to surrender to him? And I encourage you, if you feel comfortable, you can send that here into my messages and my comments. And there's people here that will pray with you and partner with you. We got to bring some order into chaos, and God's already working on it. He's brooding over it. He's waiting to do it just like he did here at the beginning. Will we allow him to do that in our lives? Thank you for being with us.